place on fire.
Doing good.
Well,
All right.
first off, man, thanks a lot for joining us. This is really cool. Like, oh, I'm getting speechless before we even start, man. We've been watching you our whole lives. We were just talking, kicking around Tommy Chong stories from, we spent all our lives watching you on screen and stuff. And when we found out we had a mutual contact who was able to hook us up with your contact info, we just jumped at that and was just like, wow, thank you for joining us, man. This is very cool. Very, very cool.
It's my pleasure. I've been enjoying the Zoom calls because I don't have to go anywhere. Don't have to dress up anyway. All I have to do is figure out how to work my phone, and I've been doing it's good practice for me. I need to really learn how to operate the phone. But anyway, it's nice being here. What's up? What you guys want to know?
Well,
everything, man.
Yeah, like let's go right back to the beginning. Like how did you not just the Cheech and Chong, but like comedy in particular, because you're just a hilarious motherfucker, right? To your core. So like, were you the class clown or?
No, not at all. Not at all. No, I was are we there? Did I lose you? Oh no, there we go.
Yeah, you still
I was the younger brother. And younger brother, you become the guinea pig. And I learned very early that getting angry did not help the cause, but making someone laugh, it could disarm them. And so that was basically a younger brother way of surviving, because when I say younger, he was like 3 years older than me. And that's quite a stretch when you're young, because the older brother has to do all, takes all the blame and has to do all the heavy lifting and that. And the younger one can skate away, skate around it without having to do it. And so, and my older brother was, very tough. We grew up, we didn't know it at the time. We were very mixed. My brother and my sister were all half Chinese. But to make it worse, we were living in a very racist part of the country, and in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And so we were isolated real early in our lives by the community, and so we had to make up our own entertainment and kind of like, and then we, started hanging out with other rejects. And that's the story of my life, really. I think everything changed, growing up in that kind of environment, very poor and very rural, a lot of people misunderstand silence for hatred or ignorance, but there we go. But the truth is, a lot of country folks like myself, we were never confronted with anything, and there's a lot of loneliness. And so when you get into a city or a big group effect, all of a sudden you got people talking, and and when you grow up in the country, you might go days, weeks, months without seeing something strange where you have to, confer or talk or gossip even. Yep. And I figured that out. The silent Indian type. You remember that song? He never says anything. Well, that's cultural too, because of and I found out I'm part Native, and I think that part of me really helped me get through the early life, because even like now that I'm older, I enjoy being alone. I have no problem with that, and because when you're alone, you just have yourself. That's your only your best friend is yourself. Yep. And that really helps. And so And then when I joined Army Cadets, that's when and I've always had a musical ability. You know, I could pick up a tune pretty easy on the accordion, which my cousin had. I never owned a guitar, by the way. You know, I ended up being known as a guitar player, but I never owned my own guitar, electric guitar, until I was in my teens. And the reason I bought it is that we started a band, and then I needed a guitar. But up until then, whenever I played, I'd just borrow a friend's. You know, it's like I didn't know at the time, but he was like my guitar techie. You know, when I needed a guitar, yeah, I need the guitar, okay, and it would be nice, and it got strings and tune and everything. And so yeah, my life has always been kind of like accidental, but it was ordained. You know, like I was put here for a reason, and I've been fulfilling that reason ever since.
I'll second that for sure, man. I appreciate all your work, and you've inspired me to be creative as well.
Oh,
so,
great.
I have nothing but respect for you. You're such an awesome dude. And it's an honor to have you here and to chat with you. It's such an honor.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm I'm in that icon age now, you know. And I do a lot of cameos, and I get a lot of older people too, you know, because one thing happens when you get old, you get ignored, and so I tell my old buddies, enjoy it. It's not on you anymore, you know. Like, be a granddad, man. You know, they just give love. That's all you give love. You don't have to discipline. You don't have to yell. You don't have to be grumpy. You know. If the kids are you know, and then the young ones, they respect that, you know. Oh, don't bother grandpa. You know, oh, grandpa's not going to like that, you know. So you don't have to do that thing what you had to do with your own kids, you know. I really, yeah, I've enjoyed every bit of my life, because like I said, I learned how to be alone, and then when you're alone, you can figure things out. You know, there's no pressure. You know, you can sit there all day if you want. You know, you got that freedom. There's freedom. There's some beautiful freedom of being left alone and ignored. You know, and being the middle child. You know, I've got 3 kids of my own, and the youngest one, or the middle child, my oldest son, he's my manager. You know, he's responsible for getting Cheech and I back together again, and we're about to do a new movie that which my son, you know, is promoting, producing. Yeah, and so he's keeping me working. You know, other than that, if it wasn't for him, I would have been on some remote surfing beach somewhere in the world.
I would imagine
not surfing, but taking pictures, and
also a good option.
and carving. I'm a wood carver of sorts too. So yeah, I you know, my life now, man. Phew. I just, you know, and my wife, I got so lucky. I met her, you know, she was she was a neighbor, teenager, and I was married, and we were just friends. And you know, that's the thing. That's why we've been together forever, because it's hard to break up with a friend. You know, you don't want to break up with a friend. You know, a lover, well, that can come and go, but a friend, oh no, that's for life. Yeah, that's and again, I think that goes back to my early upbringing, you know, because when you're isolated, you know, when you're sort of like picked out of the crowd, and so you're not invited to certain parties or functions, and that, you know, you're purposely excluded, and that especially with the boy girl thing, you know, because a lot of the parents, you can't help them. I mean, you can't blame them. They grew up in that racist time, and so that made me like, my mother told me. She said, you got to be careful, because the way you are and who you are, you're going to be noticed. And so it's up to you how you conduct yourself. It's totally up to you. And so that always stuck with me. And then when I started entertaining, I also, the key to success for guitar players has always been the singer. If you got a good singer, a good front man, you're going to make some money. But just being a guitar player, it's a little iffy. So I was lucky enough in the beginning to hook up with some, not the best singers, but the most athletic, because, young kids, the new crowd, you got all that energy. And so you always, when we started playing music, we put on a hell of a show. Because we had to cover up our inability as musicians. We weren't that great, but we were sexy looking, and that's all that counted. Oh man,
That's a stage presence.
Yeah. Well, in Canada, we started the first rhythm and blues band in Canada. That was before the Stones and the Beatles even. We were playing all those Chuck Berry songs and Bo Diddley songs, and the band was like hot. They were ex-football players. We had a black singer. He was a running back, phenomenal body, great, handsome, really, really dark skin. And then we had a saxophone player who was mixed, but he's like 6'2" or 3, and he was like a defensive end or running, and my brother, he wasn't musical, but we needed a bass, we needed a car. And,
right.
and so and we never had a bass player. So I taught my brother how to play bass. And like, he was a very tough linebacker type too. And the only weak guy in the group was a drummer, a white guy. And he was like a court reporter. But the rest of the band, and then we had the piano player, Bernie. I could have been a lot of things. And he ended up being like an amateur MMA fighter. And what that is that he was very tough. And so he would meet tough guy wherever town we went to. He would find the tough guy in the town, and then they would go off together and have a fight to see who was the best. And he did that most of his life. And he wore glasses, and he was very kind of a quiet, timid guy, but he was built like a bodybuilder. He had a bodybuilder. And so our band was really not only hot looking, but tough as nails. Because we had to be. Every once in a while, we'd come across the drunk cowboys, and they would get a little too mouthy, and next thing you know, the fight was on, the brawl was on. They never lasted long,
Is this in Calgary?
This in Calgary, yeah. Calgary,
I was just say I'm in Innisfail, in between Calgary and Edmonton, so I know what you're talking about.
There you go.
I lived in Calgary for a while, so yeah.
See, the tough guys, they were always embarrassed for some reason. You could never make fun of them, because they're because they got heckled. As being an athlete, you always heckle the guy. Oh man. And when we started, I got in trouble with a friend, because you got a choice. You can either hang with you can either be with the intellectuals, the guys that are into school, studying, and we get together. Let's get together and study for the test, okay? Or you could be the guys that would go to the community dances to see how many if you can pick up a girl, not even, you know what I mean? There wasn't that many. If you could just, or if you couldn't get a girl, well, then you could get into a fight somewhere, you know. So that was Calgary. And so I was hanging with this, like I said, the rough crowd, and a friend of mine, he stole the car, but he stalled it outside my house. And so he called me. And so I got up and got dressed. I was in bed. I got up and got dressed and went out and tried to help him start the car. And then cops pull up. Of course, we ran, but the snow had just fallen. So the cops just followed our tracks to my house. And where we were in bed with our clothes on. And the cops come and said, okay, come on. And so we went to jail. And I was like 15 at the time. And so we got charged with joyriding. And so
What?
Joyriding. It wasn't car theft. It's a Canadian Calgary charge of joyriding, and it's $100 fine, and but it really changed a lot of things in my life, because then I got it when I got into the music. Then I forget the life of crime. Music was so much more fun, and they actually paid you for it, you know. So we just stayed playing, but there was always this MMA fighting vibe with the band and with us, with everybody in Calgary, you know. Because once we started, and then I got socially conscious, and so I went to the magistrate who sentenced me, you know. And I knocked on his office door, and I come in, and I told him, I said, you know, the trouble with Calgary, there's nothing for teenagers to do. And so all of a sudden, I'm in a Footloose movie, you know. And so the guy goes, well, why don't you get something going, you know? Don't cry to me, just go, you know, take care of it. And so we started a teen club. It was called the Shades Teen Club in Calgary. Well, the thing is, if you start a teen club, then you get all the straight people. Oh, they're right behind you. You know, this is legitimate, you know. And so the Canadian Legion gave us their best hall in Calgary, right in the middle of Calgary. And we we're throwing dances every Saturday, packing that place. Think about it. We got the first rhythm and blues band in that area in Alberta. We had people driving up from Lethbridge, down from Edmonton, but the trouble is the dance ended at midnight, and so now you got all these rowdies with nothing to do at midnight except go terrorize the city.
That's when the fun starts, is at midnight.
Yeah,
usually.
Yeah. So the mayor of the town called us into his office, and he told us we had to get out of town. Well, we were, you know, young and great, let's go. And so we, the hell with the teen club, we went down to Vancouver and joined, you know, the nightlife there, because Vancouver, you know, they had real nightclubs, and you know, they had a nightlife, and it was crazy, you know. And so that's how I started my musical career. It started off in Calgary.
Did you have like a real aha moment as a performer where you're going from like, I like entertaining people, I really enjoy, I think I might like to do this, to I got this, I know I can do this?
That's a kid that has a, you know, a mom and dad that went to college, and you know, they got a comfortable everything. No, man, I'll tell you, where I grew up, once you become 8 years old, you're old enough to drive a tractor or a truck or whatever you need when you're working in the fields, you know. And if you're 16, man, and first of all, as soon as you're old enough to do something, you got to start bringing in some money into the household, you know, because, you know, the everyday living, you got to come up with some jobs. And so I delivered newspapers, I delivered meat, I did all those jobs you had to do. And I usually get it off a friend that was either quitting or going to, you know, another school or something. Hey, do you want to take my paper route? Hey, do you want my meat delivery business? And so we always worked. And so even when I got the band, even when we were gigging, I was just normal thing. You had to have a work, or else you weren't going to get fed at supper time. There's no such thing as I didn't feel like looking for work, because in Calgary there's work. The jobs are really shitty, but there's work, and I always had work. And so what I did when I got the band together, I was working at a cookie factory inside making cookies. And so I got the whole band the job. And so pretty soon, and it was real easy because a lot of the band were black. And so these white shop owners, or, the bosses, they loved the fact having black guys, it was like almost back down to the slavery times, And one of the jobs we had was digging ditches for the telephone company. And it was a shit job, it was like, the reason they hired us is that they couldn't repair the cables that were going through these water sloughs, and so they were in Calgary. They waited till everything froze over, and so now you're digging through ice, and it's like concrete, and it was a very tough job, but we had it until the boss told us that New Year's Eve was on a Friday, I think. And if we didn't come on a Sunday or something, and if we didn't come to work Monday, we would all be fired. And so that was like our invitation. All we heard was "you're fired." That's all we heard. But we kept the gig until New Year's, and of course we never came back. And that was the story of our life, until we got shipped off to Vancouver, and then we never had to do another 2 jobs. Then when we graduated. Because if you're a musician, you need a girlfriend. Because if you got a girlfriend, now you got a place to stay and something to eat, and that's what
you got somebody to store your stuff, right?
Yeah. In fact, and I'm being really cute. I told my youngest son, I said, "Don't worry, son. Your dad's rich enough, you can become a jazz musician." And so that's what he did. He went to Boulder, Colorado, and went to university, got a degree, a bachelor's degree in and now he teaches music in Tofino, a mathematical genius, and she's what do you call it? The windmill engineer. She designs and builds windmills around the country, and so she's really. I'm just walking in to get to plug in my phone because it looks like it's dying. So I got to notice it's ready to go, so I'll do the rest of the interview here in the bathroom. There we go. That's what I love about Zoom, man.
In the bathroom, that is so fitting for our show.
Right? Like I was just thinking the same thing. Totally fitting.
I mean, if you got a really good poop story to tell us, I mean, now is the time.
A really what?
A really good poop story.
Well, hey, no, listen, man. I don't have to worry about that part of my life anymore. I got cancer, rectal, and so I ended up with a colostomy bag, and I worked it in my act. As soon as I got the bag on, I was on stage, and I told everybody, man, I named the bag the Donald after Trump because it's always full of shit and hot air.
That's awesome.
Oh man, yeah, we had to quit
Kudos.
touring. We had to quit touring because of the Trump. We started, our fans, so many Trumpies. Oh shit, we got booed. I wrote a song, that Motown. It was an interracial song about "Does Your Mama Know About Me?" And the last time we were playing somewhere in New York, I think, we got booed. We started doing that song and boo. And I thought, oh, these are bona fide Trumpies. These are the real ones, you know. No, we've yeah, I've had so much fun, man. And the secret, you know, a lot of people, you know, they ask me, you know, you're still doing it, you're still viable, blah blah blah, you know. And when we did the '90s show, you hear about that?
Yeah,
the '90s
I saw
show.
some of it as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I haven't seen you in it yet. I'm going through it. I'm just waiting to catch your piece.
Oh, you'll like it. It works.
It's cool to see you keep going, man.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, the '90s show, you know, they had a big premiere at Netflix. And so we went to the premiere, my wife and I, you know. Now she was my partner when we did comedy, you know, so she was, you know, she was used to doing interviews and everything else. And so now I'm just, you know, a bit player in the thing, in the show. And so they asked me about the show, and I got really ripped before I went to I usually don't, because if it's, you know, my project, I try to stay as coherent as I can. But I'm you know, I'm the supporting guy, you know. You know, I'm not the guy that the show depends upon. You know? So when they asked me, do you think this show's going to be a big hit? And I said, you know, I really don't give a shit. You know?
Method actor.
Yeah.
Well, if you got really ripped, man, that's why I respect you.
Well, yeah, you know, the greatest thing is being truthful. You know,
that's
and
good.
My wife wasn't expecting that. You know, because usually, you know, I'm, you know, Mr. Promo guy. You know, I'll promote. And then they said, how does your why are you doing this show? And I said, for the money. Why else would I do this show? You know, I mean, it's not about me. You know, I'm the extra little guy, the old guy they throw in there for a laugh. You know, and I'm all for it, man. You know, because I really, when I was in the '70s show, at first it was kind of weird, you know, because I'm so used to writing my own stuff, and so when you write your own stuff, there's not a lot of rehearsing. You know, because you want to shoot the rehearsal, because sometimes your first instincts are the best. But when I got to that '70s show, everything was written, and then I had to respect it, you know, because everything was, the story's written, and so that's when I really got to respect the writers, because I did 5 years of that show, and I never ad-libbed a line. I think I ad-libbed one line. In fact, it was so strange that everybody remembers. I added, me and the tool man were doing some measurements, and I added 2.5 inches. It was ridiculous, but that was the only line I ad-libbed in that 5 years that I was on that show. And you have to give the writers all the kudos for it, because that show is well written, and this one, you know, the '90s show seems to be the same way. You know, there's a lot of psychology going into those shows. You know, that's why they pick the young kids.
Well,
you know?
My wife met you for the first time on the '70s show.
Oh, good. Yeah, she's young, man.
And she hasn't seen any Cheech and Chong movies.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have to fix.
Oh yeah.
I have to ask about Dancing with the Stars.
She loved your cameo.
Sorry, but I have to ask about Dancing with the Stars, Tommy. Like, how much fun and did you really enjoy that?
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I blew it. I blew it. Halfway through the show, Cheryl, you know Cheryl Burke, she come up to me and she says, we got to get together. We can win this if I picked her as a partner. And the reason is that I'm basically a salsa dancer, and she's one of the best in the world. And she's won every time she won with her salsa dancing. But my partner was PETA, and they were the promoters were steering me in a different direction, they didn't want me to win, to tell you the truth, you know, because I would be the worst guy to put on the road, you know, too old, and you never know what might happen to me. You know? And Alfonso, you know, who's on that, he won that year I was on, and he should have won, and he could have, you know, I did not want to dance after, keep going after that, you know. So I, you know, just making it as far as I did, to me was great. I could have quit, you know, a week late after I got into the show, because it was the hardest work I've ever done in my life. Cheech and I never rehearsed. We just shoot. We shot Up in Smoke in less than a month, and for way under $1 million, because we never rehearsed. There was nothing to rehearse, just shoot. And yeah,
that movie's a classic.
Yeah.
So was it like that for all your movies that you guys did? Not much of a actual script, or did you kind of have a loose script and then just this is it, go in and shoot?
Totally loose. Up in Smoke, every actor wrote their own bits. Strother Martin, You Get Out of Job by Sundown, wrote every line of that bit. Stacy Keach, you know, Sergeant Stadenko, everything he did, they wrote. And then Lou Lombardo and the other guys from, you know, on the movie crew, they added a lot of stuff in there, you know, a lot of car scenes, car crashes. But as for a script, I know I was the one that wrote it. And it was about 40 pages. And it really was just, here, we're going to be here, we're going to do something here, and we're going to boost something here. These guys get deported, and you know, all that stuff. But
did you write the iconic scene in the morning where you come down and your father's yelling at you about pick fruit, like the Finkelstein kid, and you're making your
he wrote he wrote it. Strother Martin,
okay,
the actor.
That's awesome. You're just like, whatever, go in the
I
fridge.
didn't say a word in that line. You know, that was my character. I never talked. I just and let everybody else do the talking, you know.
It makes sense why that flowed so well now. If he wrote that, because that dude said that like he owned it, and obviously he did.
He did. Yeah. Yeah. It's iconic. Well, you got to figure those guys, you know, I mean, they're pros, been in every, you know, Strother Martin's in Academy Award winning pictures playing that same character. And so when he got with us, you know, that little bit was so easy, you know. And that was the whole problem. You know what our problem with Up in Smoke is that we weren't letting the movie makers stall and piss around and bullshit around so that they could make money with the movie. Like I said, it was shot in just under a month. So no one made money except the guy that owned the film, you know, Paramount, they love us, you know, because the drive-in movie theater business love us, because that movie played for years on the midnight movie circuit, you know. No, we went after the movies the same way we do a live show. You know, you got a crowd, okay, let's go entertain them, and that's what we did. And it was good, you know. The difference you can tell my directing. I directed in Up in Smoke. I really directed the very last scene where we're driving down PCH and Cheech drops some hash on in between his legs, and he does that. I wrote that scene because the scene that the director had put in there, it ended like we're all in. It was all a dream or a hallucination, you know, and that would have cheated everybody. It didn't work, and so I had to write that, and that's what really broke up the Up in Smoke crowd. And then after that, I became the director of all the things. I became the megalomaniac too, you know. Yeah.
All right, Tommy, I gotta know, if you could be any animal,
Sure.
Animal would you be?
Animal?
Yeah. And I know there's a lot, so you know, you can think about it.
If I could be, it's not if I could be.
You can interpret.
We will be. We will be.
Way.
That's the definition of eternity. Is that any living thing, our spirit can go into any living thing. I guess a whale. I like the whale. Yeah. Because there's been documented reports of souls occupying the whale. The chief in the Haiti tribe in Vancouver Island, when he was about to die, to transition, and he told his people that he's going to become a whale. And after he died, a whale appeared in the sound and stayed there for a while, and would rise and look at his people, and the people knew that it was him. So that's a trip, man. That is a trip.
Right on.
Yeah, I have some moments with cardinals like that where they show up in moments where you feel the connection. You've recently lost someone or something. I feel that.
Yeah. Well, I've been studying a lot of spiritual books, and which they all are viable. They all have the truth in there. They just have them, different languages or for different people. Because when you think about it, every religion worships the invisible God. And so, but they all have different names. But they all really worship the same God. We all do, because that's where we're all from. We're all from the same spiritual entity. And I know there is a God. And I tell them, have you seen my wife? That not only there's a God, but he really likes me.
So on this, with you being, kind of like such an icon in the cannabis culture, it always kind of was curious to me, how was it when you traveled overseas? We all kind of knew, how it was for you here in America, but I always laugh, at the scenes in your movies, where they're like, oh, Mr. Burke, Mr. Dolly, those, like, that's some of the stuff that just cracks me up. But how were, you and Cheech, perceived overseas, as, those cannabis icons and things?
No problem overseas. No problem at all. In fact, I even went to Japan, and they've got the strictest no drug bullshit policy going. So much so they warn you before you go there. And so when I got there, I told them that, on the forum, I said, that I had a drug conviction. And so they pulled me in the office. But the thing was, I was wearing a very expensive Rolex watch. I was dressed, kind of expensive. My wife, she looks like a zillion bucks anyway. And so when the guy, he and tourists to them, that's your lifeblood, and so they looked at us, and we represent a lot of tourist money. Now, if they're going to turn me away because of a drug conviction, if I showed up, with in a t-shirt, in dreads and nowhere to stay, they wouldn't let me in just based on the fact that they don't like the way I look. But when they had me go to the chief guy, the main guy, and he asked me, why I put, that I had a drug conviction. I said, well, I got one for selling bombs. He said, bomb. I said, water pipes. Oh, water pipe. He says, okay, here, you come in, and when anybody asks you about drugs, you lie. That's what he told me. You lie. Okay? When you leave, they ask about drugs, you lie. No drugs. No drugs. And so that was fine, So that's and because we're known all over the world, we got fans all over the world. coming and going. And for a while there in the States, I got stopped in going up to Vancouver. And, you know, it's my hometown. And they stopped me and they found, I thought I had everything. Yeah, I used to carry the drugs in my pod in my guitar case. And I put the guitar case on my back, and the pot would be up at the top. And so the dogs could never smell anything down there. And so, but this one time I forgot I had a pipe in my pocket. And so when I was going through and I was getting searched, I'm, you know, kind of cocky, you know, hey, go ahead, search me. Next thing you know, the dog's nose is on my junk, you know. and the guy says, okay, you've been tagged. You want to tell us where the drugs are so we don't have to, you know, make it worse, blah, 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 all that. And so I showed him where, you know, the couple of joints I was carrying. And he disappeared. Then he come back and he says, okay, you can go. And I says, why? What happened? He said, well, you were born in Canada, so they can't keep you out of Canada. And you have a United States passport, so they can't keep you out of the States either. So I said, oh, I can smuggle dope back and forth anytime I want. And they go, no, don't do that. but that was it. So we've always had a Cheech and Chong go out of jail free card wherever we go, you know.
That's awesome. That's just that story's worth a dab frog, Tommy. This is something that our brother Doug is smoking on the screen with us. He did we like to do a dab frog, so we do a dab kind of mid-show type thing. Thought it'd be fun to hit you with one of these.
Oh, that's so cool. That is so cool. Who designed that? That's
nice.
That
would be this guy right here that I'm spotlighting here.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice. Yeah. Look at that. Oh,
great guy. So we love having him around.
Beautiful.
And
beautiful.
We think it's cool as hell that somebody would be even willing to design stuff like that for us, right? So it's
yeah, and don't we live in the best of all worlds now? Got artists. Artists who come on. Oh man, we're having so much fun now. Even my junkie studio, you know, I'm a, what do you call it? Like I carved. Well, I started carving when I was a young boy, just because there's nothing else to do. And we were, you know, back in the day when I grew up, it was cowboys and Indians, you know, and so, but we couldn't afford, you know, any kind of store-bought cap pistols or anything like that. So we would carve our weapons. You know, I carved a little sawed-off shotgun, and and yeah, that's what we carved. And like I said, I'm part Native, and so I've been making tomahawks and knives out of wooden knives. You know, for a while the sword fighting movies were the rage. You know. Earl Flynn, you know, Robin Hood and all that. And so my brother and I'd make these swords out of wooden swords. And my brother, he would get carried away, and I got a couple of scars where he stabbed me. I had scars all over. I got a big scar on my finger here. My brother, we were in this Ukrainian farmhouse. And it was my aunts, all my mother's sisters married Ukrainians. And so he was a Ukrainian fur trapper. And his mother, the mother were in Saskatchewan. So we're at this little farm, and my brother was chopping wood. And so and I wanted to chop wood. I as soon as I saw that axe, you know, something freaked in my head. I thought, I gotta have that. And so I wanted to do the chopping, and my brother said, you put your finger there again, I'll chop it off. And next thing you know, he chopped it, but he chopped the lengthways. He didn't chop it off properly. He split it down the center. And so the Ukrainian lady that we live with, you know, did an Indian splint to it, put some herbs on it and wrapped it up, and it was fine. No stitches or nothing, but I got scars from my, lack of things to do. I was the go-to guy. But yeah, the carving and creating. So we'd build our own toys, and build stilts. That was you get a couple of 2x2s and put some things on them, and you got stilts. I never learned how to do it, by the way. I built them, but I was never that good physically. They're not as good as my brother anyway. But that habit that I created, it was like a soothing habit. I would sit by the kitchen stove and carve stuff, And the one thing that I could carve, I still carve, is letter openers, because they're so easy to carve. And so I've got a nice collection of letter openers. And now I'm carving little doll heads. I don't have any. Oh, I went on a cleaning binge, and I cleaned it. I put everything in cardboard boxes, and then I forget I got them. I'm eccentric.
So when you go to do your carvings and things and you grab your wood, is it like you see the thing in the wood and you start carving it out, or you just you can take anything and make it what you want, or does the wood really speak?
You see, I carve like I play guitar. I'm not that great or that strong, but I've got really good intentions. Musically, I learned to play guitar just well enough to play with a fiddle player that would play for parties, and so it was always a job for me. It was never a luxury. Playing music was the way I made my living, and that's the way it was. And so I never really had that love of the guitar. It was that I could play it. Now later on, I'd pick up pointers from different people and that, but that's why I could get into comedy real easy, because that was more me, because again, it's a talent that for some reason I had it. And I think it goes back to when, again, when you're living in the country and then you find a family that has kids, and there might be miles away, which these guys were. There was it was an old ranch house, like a mansion, and they had sectioned it off into little living quarter areas. And there was two families lived there. There was two girls, a couple of years apart, the Wallace sisters, May and Lily Wallace. And then there was Hattons, and there was a couple of boys, Hatton, and there was another boy. So there was like boys, a lot of boys, a lot of girls. And then we would get together, and I ended up playing with the girls more, playing house, not the nasty version, but the real version where I would be the husband and come home from work and how was your day? We would play this make-believe game because there was nothing else to do, so we made up our own entertainment. And that's where I got my acting chops from, because we'd go into that make-believe world and stay there for like all summer, you wake up and come down. I'd get over to the house there, and we'd make structures, like we'd dig a hole and put a piece of plywood over top of the hole, and underneath there that was our hut, or that was our house. And we had the best time, and it was all created by ourselves. You made up your own, and that's the way it was back then. But what it did, and then I ended up going to Bible camp. And Bible camp is where I really learned to perform, because they had the sing-alongs around the campfire, and it wasn't just all religious songs or spiritual songs. On the wall, those kind of songs. And so I spent one summer at And I learned a lot of basic moves, you know, how to pray, and I learned all the stories, you know, that for young kids, and that really helped. And that's helped my life to this day right now. Because anytime, you know, I get in a corner, don't know what to do, you know.
Uh-oh, we lost your audio.
Oh, there. How's that?
Oh, there we go. Yep, that's good.
Anyway, not to bore you anymore, I've got there's a thing called the golden key, and the golden key. I can't.
Still good, I think.
Yeah, you're all good.
We still got you.
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
now we lost the audio again.
It's okay. Usually we have the audio problems at the beginning of the show, so this is a new one, get it midway through before things mess up.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Hell yeah, we're back.
Can you hear? Oh, we're back. Okay, that was my daughter, my Radon daughter. Yeah, she's coming over.
Yeah, the golden key.
Oh, the golden key. It's Emmett Fox. If you guys want to pursue it further, write down Emmett Fox, and he's online. And he does a little essay called The Golden Key. And what the golden key is that you can't change another person's mindset. You can only change your own. Okay. So if you change your own mindset to one of understanding and acceptance, and one of gratitude, and one of really seeing the person that you're talking to, then you can change anything. Like, for instance, we got laid over in Denver, and it looks like the planes weren't taken off, blah, blah, blah. It's a mess. We might be staying here overnight. And so I just turned on the golden key. I just stayed within myself, sort of like, just know that it's all going to work out fine. You know, no reason to get upset, no reason to worry, no reason to fret, no reason. Because what's the worst that can happen? You stay in Denver overnight or whatever, who knows? It might be a great adventure. Whatever it is, within seconds or within minutes, there was an opening on the plane for a couple of seats, and got to run down to the gate, we get on, but yeah, we got you on. It works every time. It works every time, because what you're doing is you're acknowledging the power of the universe. You see, there's a power of the universe, and this is what everybody's been like seeking in church. You know, they're looking for the lost ark of the, you know, this and that. There's nowhere to look except within yourself, because that's where the secret, that's where the power lies, is within you. Now, when you learn that and you use it just for good, and it never works for bad, but it works for good, miracles happen and people
I'm trying
get
to
healed.
teach my boy karma. Karma, it comes right back at you sometimes immediately. If you're a dude, it comes right back at you. It's
That's
like
it.
the universe's energy.
That's
And he
it.
keeps
Now
asking me questions. Yeah.
that's if you're evolved and you're lucky. A lot of times you're meant to be going through this stuff, and so it doesn't come back like you would want it to, you know, like these people do. Well, I liken, without faith, trying to make it to the top is like a mountain climber. All he wants to do is make it to the top of the mountain. He doesn't know why, but maybe it's for self, whatever, you know, self advertisement or something. But if you climb the mountain for exercise and for the love of the outdoors And whether you make it to the top doesn't matter. The fact is that you're there, you're doing it, it's great. But when you put these sort of artificial goals, and you know, like I gotta get wealthy at any cost. I don't care what it does. You know, I'll steal from my mother. I'll steal. You know, when you get that sort of craziness, you know, then yeah, you're going to hurt yourself. You know, because what karma is, you reap what you sow. You know, whatever you put out there, that's what you have to. That's your crop. You know, it's like and if you're full of lies, then eventually that lie, there's no other home for it except with you. You invented these lies, and so you're the only one that's going to suffer from them. You know, for the most part. Yeah, that's the way it works. On the other hand, the truth will set you free. Now, the truth, but what it does, this is what I figured out just recently. The truth is really God. Like when you hear music, music that just resonates, that's God. When you see art, that you look at it and for some reason you go, oh, a Van Gogh or one of those guys, and you look at it and you see
someone that's put their heart into that piece, for sure. You can tell that they put their real emotions into it.
Yeah, it's God. And Bob Dylan just admitted that he doesn't know where those songs came from. They just all of a sudden appeared. And he wrote them down, and he did them, but he couldn't tell you that what he was thinking or what triggered it or nothing. That's God. That's God working. You see, what we are the arms and the legs, we're here. We're here to enjoy God's work is the glories. You know, that's what we're the observers, you see.
Oh, frozen.
Uh-oh. Froze up now.
Connection lost.
Oh, you lost me?
Oh, wait, now he's back.
Yeah, he
He's
froze
back.
up for a second there. You're back.
Yeah. See, it's God messing with me. I'm not supposed to be talking.
I was waiting for that.
Well, then there you go. You know, here's a good one. So, you know, you guys said you had a new movie coming up, but what else is big and upcoming for, you know, Tommy Chong? What's next for you?
Well, we're selling our CBD gummy bears, or the gummies. They're called Cruise Chews. They're available in all the places, you know, drugstores, CBD, the drugstores, all the places. And if we sign with this big distributor, we are going to be all over the world with these gummies because they're legal. They're 3.5% THC, which is a lot of, which is the amount that everybody can handle. And it'll make you creative. It'll free you. It'll free the mind, but it won't make you unable to operate heavy machinery. You know, you'll be able to drive a car. You know, so we're selling those like crazy, and we're getting ready to go public with the Cheech and Chong Cannabis company, and a lot of good things, tons of good things going. You know. I figured out a way to bring peace into the world. See, the problem we have right now is our electoral system, even though it will show you who the bad guys are, you know, the trouble is that we have right now is that people have to spend so much time campaigning to be elected that they neglect what they're elected for. And so that's why weed still isn't legal. You know, they sort of put it on the back burner, and that's why so many things seem to lag behind. you know. I just saw a documentary with Lyndon Johnson. And Lyndon Johnson, he was a white Southerner, grew up dirt poor, but he did more for Black people than any other president in history. In history, he was the one that got the Voting Rights Act. He did it all, you know. And that's what we have to free people. Now, a lot of the racist, you know, the racism is fear, by the way. And that's what ignorance is. Racism, any kind of hate, it's a form of ignorance. Because if you were to know the truth, you wouldn't hate anybody, you know, especially Black people. You know, you would do what most people do, is admire them and by the way, any life, you know, you might be white in this life, but you die, you could come back Black more often than not. You know, that's because we're here to learn. That's our whole
or you could come back
mission on Earth.
The sheer mathematics of it alone means odds of you coming back white 2 or 3 times in a row is slim to none happening. If we don't get into that,
yeah, to learn, you gotta learn. You gotta learn. And by the way, the saddest people on the planet are a lot of white folks that don't know what they're missing because of their ignorance. You know, they have no idea. I mean, like with me, when I met my first wife, Maxine, I met her when she was 14. She was the sister of the piano player. And when I met her, oh my God, what a gorgeous creature she was. Tall, beautiful, athletic. She was like the star athlete in her school. And then we were like, she was a Baptist lady, you know, a church lady. And I was, you know, I was the bad guy. And so she was like my decent girlfriend. And we always had, you know, all the musicians, you always got the bad girls and the good girls. And so we got married and everything was fine. But she was too, you know, she's stuck in her ways. And, you know, I'm this free spirit. And next thing you know, I run across my now wife, Shelby, and we were just friends. But she was the kind of friend, she was part Jewish. And so she started helping me with the business right off the bat. You know, she was one that made the clubs successful, told me what to do, told me who to hire. And there's one singer we had, you know, he quit and tried to steal the drums. But then a month later, he wanted to come back. And I wasn't going to bring him back. And Shelby said, no, he's a good singer. I said, yeah, but he stole the gun. She goes, so what? He can sing. You know, and that's more important. And then within a month, we got discovered by Diana Ross and the Supremes, and we got signed with Motown. So she was beautifully right on, you know. And so I've always, when I was a kid going to school, I used to walk with the older girls, and I'd be the fly on the wall. And so these older girls would talk about what they liked in a guy, who they thought was cute and who they thought was a creep, you know. And it was always the guy you thought, oh, the jock, you know, oh, he's so cute and everything else. But the girls that walk with, I can't stand him. He thinks he's so hot. And then some badass guy, you know, with the tattoos and the ducktail haircut, you know, oh, he's so cute. Oh my God. And so then I said, oh, okay. I know who to follow. And the ducktail guy was more fun anyway. You know, the other jock guys were like, I never did like those guys, you know, because they're always competitive. And they're always taller and stronger, and they had no idea the power that they could have had they knew how to do it. Well, a couple of them did. You see them in the NBA and the basketball, that the badasses in that. But yeah, I learned to listen to girls, and they'll tell you the secret. As long as they don't know you're there. That's what I did, man. In fact, and then the other thing I did when I got older, my buddy and I, he was really good looking, looked like Tony Curtis, and I was like the opposite. I had real black hair, and so we were like two guys, two kind of hot looking guys, but we were really young. And in fact, we went to we went to Edmonton on a journey, and we got invited to a party, and these girls, older girls, hit on us right away, but we were virgins. we had to keep our mouth shut because we had no idea what they were alluding to, and it didn't take the girls long to figure that one out. And so then we had a nice time. But I've always had if I go to dinner parties and that, I have better times talking to the ladies than I do the guys, because ladies, I could charm the shit out of them, I still do. In fact, I used to be so charming that this one girl that I took to a prom one time, and I met her father, and he really liked me. And so I'd get calls at all hours of the night and say, "Hey, Tommy, will you phone my dad and tell him that you're with me? Because he really likes you." Yeah. And as long as I'm with you, it's okay. And so I had to do that a couple of times.
I'm kind of curious about music. You've been doing it for a long time now. What's your thoughts on music today in this day and age? Is there anything new that interests you at all, or you you like the old stuff that you kind of grew up with?
Well, I've been, I listen to everything. There's some stuff. The only thing that, that I didn't agree with, when it got too punky and yelly, in that Kurt Cobain, I could never get into that angst, that position that he was in, because he those guys, they're weird as shit, man. And I don't think they're into girls. I really don't. The Beatles were, the Stones were, I don't know if Kurt was at all, but you know what I'm saying? The ones that they don't see everybody else. When I grew up musically, I realized the black people that I just admire, all their songs were about sex and how big their dicks were, and that's what their song, I'm a man, I spell M-A-M, man, I can make with you Atlanta, baby, I make love to you one at a time, because I'm a man. And the white guys would be that you took a long time to leave me, Lucille. Crops in the field and all that shit, And he's crying about he's losing his farm hand, and Lucille probably went out with the black guy that had the big dick, and so it just cracked me up. And so naturally, I went, and then the humor of all the black music, oh man, and the jazz and the excitement and everything. No, once I got with Motown, man, oh my God, all the sexy songs that they did, all the moves and the way they looked, oh, it was, it was, I couldn't. Yeah, I really loved the rhythm and blues and the love songs they sang, you know, and it was always about, you know, cheating, you know, going out with a girl and hoping, you know, the husband doesn't walk in on him and stuff like that. Well, the twist. Come on, baby, let's do the twist. Hank Ballard and the Midnighters were the ones that originally did it. Now, if you look at early Hank Ballard, it was all sex. Sexy Ways. He had a song called Sexy Ways. Work, baby, work, 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 till the meat falls off the bone. It was wiggle, baby, wiggle, wiggle, on the wall, in the hall, any old place we ball. Oh, baby, ooh-wee. It was all about making love. It was all about making love. And so when he did the twist, you know, come on, baby, let's do the twist. Then Chubby Checker took it and genderfied it, you know, and made it, you know, so that white people can do the twist, you know. And there was no sexy. Well, Elvis's first song, Hound Dog, was written by a woman, Annie Mae Thornton, I think her name was, and she's talking about a guy that's sniffing around her place like a hound dog. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, you know, sniffing all the time. You ain't never caught a rabbit. You ain't no friend of mine, you know. And what did Elvis do? Turned it into a real dog. Hey, you ain't nothing but a hound dog. Because they're all interested in Elvis's moves. They weren't listening to the lyrics or the songs or none of that shit. They were just looking at this handsome God-looking guy, you know, Greek God-looking guy, and he's sexy, and that's all it was. But I man, the Black culture was so honest, and the Black poetry and all of that, you know. So that's where I just lived there, and being as white as I am, I could straddle the worlds, you know. We discovered the Jackson 5, and when they got their contract from Motown, I was the whitest guy they knew. So they brought the contract to me because with the glasses, I looked like an agent, you know. And they said, "What do you think?" And I took the contract, and I said, "What choice do you have? What's the other contract?" None? Okay. So this is the one you're going to sign, and you're going to do great. And that's the way it was, man. No, when I discovered the Black culture, everything, you know, then it was like, and it was easy to ship too, you know, because I was already went through the white man's, you know, ghetto, you know, which was Irish jigs and, you know, that kind of the shatish and the Irish, by the way, in the white world of white guys, they were the Black guys. You know, the Ireland, they were the rebels. Yeah, sure. Even to this day, you know, music wise and everything, you know. So there's a lot of, with me, it's like a lot of racial understanding, because a lot of us ourselves, you know, when we're caught up into it, white people don't understand what it's like to be driving, and then all of a sudden the cops are behind you, and you're sweating because you're looking for you know, some lit place to stop, because the chances of you getting out of there alive are like kind of like 50-50, you know, because why are they stopping me, you know, brothers? And I've been through that routine a few times, and I know the feeling. One time we're coming back down from Vancouver, and we had a couple of brothers in the car, and we stopped off at, you know, in the middle of the morning, the night, to get gas, actually. And we walked in on an argument, and the gas attendant guy was telling this hippie off, and the long-haired hippie, and he was yelling at him something. And I started kind of laughing because it was kind of funny to me, you know. And the owner of the gas station looked at me and says, "What are you laughing at?" And, you know, being Canadian is like, you you motherfucker, what do you think I'm laughing at? You know? And my buddy grabbed me, the drummer, he grabbed me, literally took me outside, grabbed my arm and just pushed me outside. And when he got me outside, he says, he's got a gun and he'll use it. So I went back in there. In fact, I didn't go back in there. I just went and sat in the car. In fact, he told me, go sit in the car. So I went in the car and then they handled everything. Yeah, because it's dangerous. It's really dangerous out there in the middle of the night, you know, being black. But that's what the world gave us. That's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing anyway.
Was that your introduction into like cannabis? Was that when you started hanging out with all the, you know, the black musicians and everything? Was that your introduction there, or had you been introduced before?
I got introduced to cannabis in a jazz club by a jazz bass player, Raymond Ma, who was in California. See, everything's ordained because he came to me. Now I knew him, but not, you know, he knew me, you know, I had a band and I would come into it was his jazz club. And I never played. I would just I could get in free if I brought my guitar. All the musicians got in free and I couldn't afford shit. So I would bring my guitar and come into the jazz club. Well, one day he'd been in LA and he comes up to me and says, I got some presents for you. Handed me a Lenny Bruce album and a joint. And so in my first marijuana joint, so I put the joint in my pocket and so then he lit up his own. He lit up another one and it was my first toke. And I can remember the music that was being played. It was A Lonely Woman by Ornette Coleman. And it's changed my life. It literally changed my life. I sat there and I was mesmerized by the music because the music wasn't just being played. It was like I could see a lonely woman in a balcony, just looking out at the street. You know, the visuals would just came popping out. And then I went home with my joint. I hadn't touched it. And then I started smoking just a couple of tokes and I'd put it out. And just enough to get high. And I'd listen to the whole Lenny Bruce record and just memorized it basically. And it was the funniest thing. I was laughing so hard. And then I had a buddy that would visit me all the time. He came over and I never gave him the joint, but I'd let him listen to the Lenny Bruce record. And that was the only dope I had for that year. That joint lasted for about a month. And then after that, no more, nowhere to get it until I went to Vancouver. And then that's when we started the whole band. None of us told each other that we were smoking, but me and the organ player for sure, you know, we would buy these pinners. They were like these hustlers, street hustlers would roll these marijuana dust into the skinniest little joints. But the good news was it was enough to get you through the night as far as the gig goes, you know, as far as the music goes, you know, and it only cost $1 a joint. And so, see, what we did back in the day, we got high to play, you know. And like Cheech and I, when we were doing our records, we would get high to create, and that's it. And our whole life, when Cheech and I got together, our whole life was really dedicated to performing and recording. Everything we did, we just record, perform, them in the movies, you know, that, and we're still there. We're still there. When Cheech and I get together, sometimes I've got these little breast strips that have THC in them. And he likes them. In fact, I gave him a shitload the minute last time I saw him. And I'm a one toker. 1, 2 toke. 1, 2 tokes. put it out, and then or let it go out by itself. Yeah, that's my, and of course we tried cocaine. Terrible. Although I wrote "Does Your Mama Know About Me" after I did a shot of cocaine the first time. I think the first time you do any the things, and then the trouble is that instead of chasing the muse, you're chasing the drug, and that's not the way it is,
Cheers, guys. Battery's about to die. Tommy,
it's,
such an awesome thing meeting you, man. Love all you guys.
What's
Much
that?
respect. This has been killer.
Oh, we got to go?
No, Bud's has to go
No,
there.
I have to go. Battery's about to die. Love you guys.
Oh, are you under
Corey.
house arrest? Are you under house arrest?
No, we got power cuts. The government decided to not maintain the infrastructure and spend it on cars and bullshit.
Where the hell are you? Where
South
are you?
Africa, man.
Oh,
I'm in
you're there?
I'm in the land where apartheid and all that weird shit happened, and we got to terms with our racism. White people were shown how to not be dickheads anymore, and it was just this crazy mess. So all of the stuff you said about that, I took it to heart. Much
good.
respect. I love you a lot, man.
Well, good. Well, I'll see you again, I hope.
I hope so too.
Okay, brother. Do you have a good trip? Have a good time. Bye-bye. Take care, old South African.
Yeah, it's always amazing listening to him talk about some of the stuff he goes through and what we take extreme advantage, of and don't even think about. He's talking about he's only got power, sporadically a few hours throughout the day. That's I don't even know.
All that's going to change because we got fusion now. They figured out fusion.
We hope so.
Oh no, they got it. Now it's a matter. It'll take a few years, but it's going to change everything. Yeah. That's why everybody's up. That's why we got the war in Ukraine, because oil is eventually going to be a memory. Everything else is, That's what we're looking at now. Yeah.
That would be nice. I look forward to a greener future, stuff like that.
Where are you calling from now? Where are you guys now?
I'm from 100 Mile House, BC, about 5 hours north of Vancouver myself.
Oh, out of Vancouver?
About 5 hours north in 100 Mile House.
Oh, I know that. I know 100 Mile House. Yeah, I know that area. Yeah. How's the weather up there? Rainy?
It's pretty warm right now. We had our cold spot a little while ago, and now most of the snow has melted down to maybe 6 inches. So I think we're gonna get it come roaring back because you always get that January lull where every year where it warms up.
Oh yeah.
And then everybody's like, "Oh yay, spring's here," and you're like, "How long have you lived in Canada? Spring is not here." And sure enough, winter comes roaring back. So I think that's about to come happening here.
Yeah. That's when I look at in California and look at the problems they have, and I say, you know what? I like it here. I like being able to go to the beach, even if you got to wear your clothes. It's a nice feeling. But I loved Alberta, and I love 100 Mile House. Huh? Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's I like the small town life. I go to places like Vancouver and I start getting freaked out about getting lost and stuff like that. But it's funny because the anxiety is always short-lived because it's just, just drive down the street and then there's another street and there's another street, just like any other place, right? Some have more, some have less.
Yeah, I'm right near Toronto. But 2 hours north of Toronto, right on the Great Lakes, Georgian Bay.
Oh, can you freeze?
Yeah. Whoa, that's a good one.
Into a robot.
Whoa. This one's cool. Oh, that's a bad one though. Yeah, we'll get him back in a minute.
That one he might have flushed. Maybe that's what that was. Got the interference playing with the back.
Oh, there it was.
Oh, he's gone.
He probably went to the bathroom and he was plugging his phone in, but forgot to plug it in. So we've been talking the whole time.
Yeah.
He sat on the toilet and talked to us. Totally forgot to plug the fucking phone in. Actually, that.
I've been kind of wondering if you would get some kind of phone call saying, because like we were told we'd get an hour with him, which is fucking sweet. And an hour with Tommy Chong is better than half hour or 45 minutes, right? Absolutely. But he doesn't strike me as the type to be kind of looking at his watch saying, okay, I want to get out of here at the time, right? I imagine he would have been content to keep going. Or
Free spirit.
I'm wondering if his son is up there and he's like, right, I gotta cut the fucking modem off. God damn it. Yeah, I told him a fucking hour. He's in the fucking bathroom. Yeah.
But that was super cool.
Well, then we'll consider ourselves lucky because he showed up about 7 minutes early, surprised the shit out of me. And then looks like we got him for an extra 15 on top of that first 7. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Good.
I'll call that a win, a success.
He gave us 2 great pointers: dress well and lie.
I really wanted him to get farther into a poop conversation though. Like he kind of perked up a little bit, and I was like, "Oh shit, we're gonna get one." And then
that turned real quick.
Damn it.
Yeah,
I know.
The best part is everybody that watches it, whenever we air this, they'll fucking do the same thing. Oh my god, we're gonna get a shit story from Tommy Chong, and like be like,
boo.